I've noticed as I'm on this path of continued transformation, ascension, embodiment of my higher soul, my oversoul, which is coming with just like domino effects of ching, 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 like remembrance that is wild and amazing, a blessing. I'm thrilled. I love it. There is contrast that really bubbles up and comes to the surface, and my own shadow work continues to show up here. Absolutely. And so I want to speak to this process with a bit more vulnerability. I attempted to start recording this video and was like, oh, I'm tripping. And it was because I was too much using a lens of, let me share it through this and this example through a client conversation. And it's like, no, Miranda, get to the heart of your own experience and talk about it from that place. And then, sprinkles of it from a depersonalized lens. So I just said to myself as I, was like, all right, let's go. We're just going to talk about it in a less filtered way right now from my own personal experience and my own ascension work. I have had a lot of that continued shadow work rise up. And this is that spiral of remembrance and healing and ascension. It is not linear. And so, again, another continuation and vulnerability to the shadow work. I'm coming around to it again and again. It's always on this east wing, right? And I love the ascension. I do. I love it. I'll keep reaching into that shadow pocket. I'm laughing like this with a little bit of like dissonance because it's not easy. It's not easy, right? It's a challenge. And I nobly accept the challenge because I have such a deep understanding of the process here and the blessings that are inside of this journey. And I'll say it that way, not at the end of the rainbow, but on the rainbow path. I'm blessed with the shadow work that is coming up and the contrast and how that serves me. I feel it's important to share and to be a bit raw about some of that shadow work for the benefit of other people who are on this same journey right alongside me, which I know you're here. I have several people this week, again, the sprinkling on top of my own personal experiences, who are mirroring back to me very similar things that I'm ascending up through and coming closer and closer to, which is that contrast of the human identity and the programmed thinking. And this is what I'll say is really where I'm feeling like there's some things I have learned, some interpretations my brain has made, the trauma-based associations that believe they know better than my own soul-aligned sacred heart discernment and likes to try to get the last word in. We'll say it that way, right? So it's, this sense of very much noticing that contrast with everything here is telling me A. And this is so different than what my human mind thinks should happen, that there comes a point in time, I think, where I've talked in other videos about inner child work and your higher self, your empowered self, your present self coming together in the acknowledgement of some fractured energy or some dissonance, allowing grace and compassion for that. This isn't going to be a light switch where we go from a teeter-tottery, fragmented, dissociated type of place to lights on. Here I am. I am whole. I am full. I am good. I'm full of love. I recognize my divinity. I'm soul aligned. I'm in the now moment. I'm in presence. I'm making every choice in the now in a way of heart space discernment that is honoring my the whispers of my soul and the guidance that my divine spirit team is providing for me with trust and faith. There's due process. I'll say it that way. I shouldn't use legal terminology there. I'm like instant regret on that. Okay. There is a divine process. That's a better reframe. There's a divine process. Trust the process, the unfolding, the progression. This is the journey. And as we are ascending, the shadow work is going to come right alongside of us and come closer and closer. And I've noticed with myself and with other people that I've been working with where there's pockets where they feel more anxious and more like, oh, there's a problem here. And there's judgment that comes in it when they notice the yin yang energy of that contrast, right? These two contrasting parts of my identity are coming very close together and like whoop yikes, right? that can feel a little alarming. And how do we normalize, embrace, and recognize that in a way that allows for us to fall into trust with the process and not misinterpreting or labeling that growing contrast is as a problem, but rather the solution. That heightened energy is the equation almost coming together for that rebirth energy. When you've got that meeting, the meeting of these two parts in a way that feels at moments a little bit dualistic. That is the elements, the elementals that ignites that phoenix rising energy. Like it's getting hot, there's pressure, it's getting loud. What is this? And it's like, woof. Trust the process, trust the process. Yes, it's getting hot. Yes, it's getting a little loud. You're in a hot air balloon when you're on the ground, waiting for that ascension to kick off. There's no way to skip over that part of the equation. It gets very loud. It gets very hot. It gets a bit uncomfortable. This is going to be hard, but it's going to be more worth it than you know. And this is that energy I'm talking about, where I've been through enough of those corners of the shadow work where I've almost built a relationship with the discomfort that feels like, there you are again, old friend. I know that shadow work is serving me. And it allows me to see it as a divine blessing in disguise, rather than a problem or something to shy away from, be ashamed of, try to fix, try to push out. It's like embracing, like, yeah, come a little closer, shadow, come a little closer. I know we're about to take off here, right? And I can get through that heat. Like, this is a transmutation and an alchemy. That's alchemy energy, that phoenix rising, that, ooh, these two elements are coming really close together. We're about to be reborn. And when you lift up in that hot air balloon and you get to the high enough altitude, where we can turn down that energy so it's not as loud and it clears in your view, and then you get the giggling, right? The like, ooh, yes, yes, look at this, it's more beautiful than I could have ever imagined for myself. And spirit goes, you see there, you couldn't have imagined it for yourself, and yet this is where you thought the answer was. Every time we were saying, hey, move here, hey, move here, hey, do this, and you went like, that doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to you because you couldn't have imagined it from this place, could you have? Right? This is the type of life of alignment, divine blessings, energy that you will only be fully able to achieve once you've made the decision to walk through those flames. And so, while at the same time, I want to have y'all develop this similar type of energy of like, ooh, my shadow's coming closer. That definitely, realistically, can bubble up more anxiety. It's like that's what's happening there is I'm being pulled in this direction from my soul. My mind cannot make sense of it. And sometimes when you're going through the highest levels of ascension that you've ever been on before, spirit will titrate it for you, I think, right? Are you noticing these synchronicities? Like, yeah, I am. Like little pieces, little pieces, little pieces. You get to a point in your ascension where you have some belief, where you know some things, where you've experienced enough, where they go, all right, now you're ready for the Phoenix rising moment. Now you're ready for the cliff moment. Like, what's the cliff moment? Let's go. The cliff moment is this next thing is going to be a soul calling that you will only be able to make sense of, to feel resonance with here. And when you pull up into your mind and your ego identity, that shadow will not ever fully integrate with the calling you are now being guided through. Like, why would you do that to me? No. Why would you do that to me, right? Oh my goodness. Like, you're telling me I can't figure my way out of this with my mind, but that's where I'm so used to living. And the energy is like, yeah, that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. As much as you try to logic and reason, understand, and make sense of this from your programmed human mind, it will never equate from that mind space. And we're doing this for a reason. We're doing this for a reason. Are you going to choose yourself so fully that you are reborn into a new person who moves primarily from your soul alignment? And to get to that space, you have to have a moment of you can't pick both. You can't pick both here, right? We're going to make sure this one does not make sense in your mind. And what are you going to do there? Don't worry, we won't give up on you. It'll just come back and back and back. It's going to come back for you, right? If you're not ready, we're going to just keep, you're not going to stop hearing that. You're not going to stop hearing that. You can try. This is like the you can run, but you can't hide. You're not going to stop hearing that. We'll keep giving you some reminders, but ultimately, it's going to be a leap of faith. It's going to be a surrender to the illusions that exist here and get louder and louder right before you're about to take that leap, right? There's an edging up where we come closer to that at the moment where we're about to make that final act of embodiment with your higher self, the remembrance, the trust and faith that lets you acknowledge I have a far greater, higher intelligence access to this wisdom and this guidance and this compass. That's brilliance cannot be here. It can't be in this ephemeral, less eternal human mind space. That access to this infinite Akashic record energy of remembrance is here. And when you really come into this knowingness of that, you're ready to make that leap. You're ready to drop the last of those sandbags that are creating some tension with this ascension process. And there is the surrendering of the last ditch efforts of the egoic mind that perpetuates these illusions that are really based on separation, fear and separation. In that comes up the things your mind will say about rejection, abandonment, betrayal, the wounded spaces that keep you thinking, if I stay in control of how this plays out and I analyze, I overthink, I make sense of it, I strategize, then I may avoid this and get closer to this. And it's like your spirit team is watching going like, no, no, it's an illusion. The more you're here, the more you're actually going to manifest exactly what it is that you don't want, because it's born out of a very limited perspective that what you give your attention to grows. What you put your energy into manifests. This is manifestations. Like, shoot, the opposite of what you're hoping for is happening. The more that you are strategizing about how to avoid it. The only way to live the life you really deserve, which is for sure going to be bigger than what you could have imagined, is by recognizing your divinity and having such a level of trust and faith that when it comes to that final choice of what are you putting your trust in, because you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision. Are you going to choose to trust the fears that your mind projects? It's an investment. Are you going to choose to put your trust into those fears? Or are you going to choose to put your trust into your divine essence, the altar within, your oversoul, to unlock and open up remembrance, your Akashic records, things will, once you do that, you will start literally remembering things um, that are beyond some of what your human mind perceives as, time and space constraints, right? And it's like deeper levels of just boop, 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 healing. And I think that, like, with the chakras all coming to alignment for you, allowing your channel of this higher information to just pour down. So, in all essence of vulnerability and authenticity, I feel like I'm in some places with some final sandbags around some of this energy. And I'm like being so beautifully supported by the people of spirit and the people that I am working with, where I'm like, whoa, this is getting louder right now. Like, what is happening, right? And I had that happening kind of like yesterday and today, and I am walking in to get my first client, and as I'm walking through the hallway to get her from the lobby, I'm literally having this thought of, and I think it was really more here. I'm getting it from like a place of support and grace, right? And I'm having this analogy of the hot air balloon rising up and realizing, Miranda, you're all right. You're all right. This is not a problem. It's ascension. And ascension is not an on-off light switch. It is a process. It is a journey. You're on the journey. You're on the temple path, which I'm getting over and over in my oracle cards. Journey, temple path, right? You're on the journey. You're on the journey. What a beautiful thing. Don't be upset that you're hearing some loudness up here. Good, right? You've dropped many other sandbags already. This is just the last couple. So you're feeling the tipping as, all the other sandbags from that hot air balloon are gone, except for two last ones on one same side. So it's the final two. You're not further back than what you think you are. You don't need to mind over matter your way through it. You can't. This is the point. Just know, as you feel that little bit of rocking sensation, which can be, as this is coming together, like, how do you appreciate that? How do you appreciate that? Like, holy higher power, I'm about to drop the last couple of sandbags and I am ascending. And like, can we wrap some celebration energy around that? So I'm literally thinking about this. That hot air balloon analogy with the last couple of sandbags and grace and compassion for myself is going through me as I grab my client. She sits down and says, I'm arriving at this, and this, which is all very similar type of things of her own journey and choosing herself and things of the nature. And, I was thinking about when I was with my, so-and-so and this like hot air balloon analogy. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I literally just had this hot air balloon analogy for my own spirit team and ascension. Like, okay, like encouraging me, we got you energy. We got you. You're not, just because this part of you cannot understand it, it doesn't mean you're not held, right? And that you're not like so much more in your true power than you've ever been before, right? On path, love, on path. And she immediately starts talking about a hot air balloon. And I am blown away. I'm blown away. It's magic. It's magic. And so then I am telling her, like, you're not going to believe this. I literally just had the same analogy in my mind as I was walking out to get you. She's like, that's amazing. And the day before, I was in, again, this similar type of energy. And the person I'm meeting with is noticing this similar type of experiences of the growing yin yang energy and contrast with the oversoul identity and divinity connected to the very distorted reflections of self identity that's come from the trauma and the human interpretations of, what all of those shattered mirrors around him have reflected back to him, which he long ago really internalized as himself. And these two pieces are coming closer together. And we had a very powerful session, which was incredibly divinely supported in a million different ways. And at the end of the session, he says that, as I'm noticing all of this ascension and healing and integration and this journey and this grace happening, this song has been coming into my head for this last week. And it is, I once was blind, but now can see. And I was like, what is happening? What is happening to me? What is happening to me? And I went over and grabbed a DVD. I feel like people are going to be like, why do you have a DVD? I'm not going to explain. I had a DVD of the movie Amazing Grace. And just told him, like, that's amazing. This song has been coming up for me in exactly the leveling of this ascension journey, and the dropping of the sandbags is over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? This song. Can't make it up. At the moment when I am feeling like the louder energy of, like, my mind trying to overtake, and that human programming that comes from such a limited perspective, fighting against one of these final pieces of the process that is happening for me, like it's a gift for sure. And I'm just feeling it very strongly. All pieces of it. So, I once was blind and now I see. Feels to me like when I am in that place of thinking that I have the answers from here, the reality is that I'm blind in those moments. That's being blind. And it took a minute for me to shift and turn that on its, because I was feeling the other way, like I am following something I can't see. That's what I was thinking before. You're asking me to take a step off of this cliff and I can't see what's next. And it's like, no, Miranda, you've got it shifted around. You've got it shifted. You will see beyond your wildest imagination, deeper than anything that is solely tethered to this solo human experience, right? The remembrance that will be unlocked here, then you're moving from being blind to seeing, right? Third eye energy, sacred heart energy. This is the shift, right? Being in the space of fear and illusion, attachment wounds, driving an overprotective system, that's being led by the blind, right? In one of my last sessions, the theme of this kind of continues, and she's talking about, we're talking about coping skills, adaptive versus maladaptive. And It's really this understanding, appreciation around self-compassion and grace as well, right? Around the fact that coping skills come for a reason. They're developed for a reason. And when they originate out of childhood, they're adaptive. They're adaptive, which means they serve us. It's only later on when we're ready and it's time and we deserve to do the healing work and we've arrived at a place where we can revisit with safety that we start to notice the friction, the edging up of what was adaptive as a coping skill has now become maladaptive. It's feeling like a symptom because it's now maladaptive and it doesn't fit my context and environment, and it is hindering rather than serving. And so she uses this analogy of, yes, I feel like I have these tigers, like this tiger that is overprotective basically, and is just like making me feel like danger's around the corner all the time, right? And I use this analogy with her and, rode with that, carried it out a little further, coming back to Aladdin, which has been something that's come up a few different times. I've used analogies in other videos with the Aladdin theme. And so I said, I think that in Aladdin, when Raja is, first kind of like introduced to Aladdin, the reaction is on guard, right? Like protective, defensive, and Jasmine is settling Raja. Hey, it's okay. This is a friend, right? And so it's like maybe those tigers in your mind don't feel so scary or out of control when you are doing the healing work, and that healing work rises you up into your Jasmine energy, where you realize Raja is there for you, but isn't meant to be the leader. You're the leader, right? This is your mind, your humanness, your human identity. It's part of this experience, but it's not meant to be a situation of you're being led blindly by something that is disconnected from true power and source energy, right? That wisdom, that integration that comes from Jasmine ultimately has the discernment. This is soul energy, right? My soul, and that true power that comes with this ascension process turns that tiger into a primal, emotionally reactive, dictating my life being led by this fear-based type of untamed energy into this majestic companion that knows how to follow my lead.